The warrior world buff has been found. We've also discovered that the Onyxia attunement is now account-wide. World bosses have released, so we can now look at how classes are actually going to perform in the raid, where it's a massively different situation than what we're seeing in dungeons right now, which is all about cleave. And there's also some really important preparation that you should be doing right now to get ready for the Molten Core release. So let's start out by talking about how the classes are performing right now on actual bosses and not just going up and blowing up dungeons. And it really seems like all of the melee classes are looking very, very solid. As you can see in the background, as we are doing a 10-man of Lord Kha'Zix, you probably saw something similar in your raids where the melee DPS were doing most of the damage. Now, Dice is an absolute cranker, but we are seeing most classes in a very small group, if you have only like 10 people and not all debuffs, doing around 2,000 DPS. But if you had a larger group with actual debuffs, you can see classes doing way more damage. This is basically a full Priebus rogue right here, doing 3,000 DPS to the boss. And it's also just seeing that feral druids are amazing. I've seen a few mages do really well. Warriors are totally fine. Every warrior that was worried, you've already been doing insane damage. In a 7-man run I did earlier today, we had a warrior doing 2.6k DPS. So we can see warriors do very well. So warriors, rogues, feral druids, paladins are pretty solid, but we were fighting against a demon, and shamans are very solid as well. We also see hunters looking pretty good, and I will have like a tier list or a real video breaking down everything so you can understand what is looking amazing into the raid very soon. Now, the Onyxia attunement. Once you complete the Oni attunement and turn into Stormwind, and as well, if you turn into Thrall's Room in Orgrimmar, you can buy a bind on account necklace, and you need this in your inventory to be able to enter into Oni. But the bigger thing is he also sells the Handbook of Valor Vazaroth. This is the mini Azeroth, or the mini Oni buff for warriors. It is a 1-minute cooldown, 2 hours of basically always having Oni buff. Every warrior should get this because you can use this in all of your dungeons to buff everybody. You can use this in all of your raids. It's a raid-wide buff, and this is just super powerful. If you have buffs booned, you can still use this and you're totally fine. So make sure to grab the book if you are a warrior. Just complete your Onyxia attunement. Now, the Devil Core gear, this gear set was actually requiring items from the literal raid, from MC. So you couldn't go into the raid prepared with the Devil Core set. You have to kill King Mosh to be able to do this, and they removed the core leather requirement so that you don't have to kill King Mosh. That's where the patterns drop. But now you can actually craft these items, which are very, very good. They're not technically bis or pre-bis, but they kind of are. I would suggest every melee DPS gets these because they come with 20 fire resistance on the legs and 15 more on the gloves. And fire res is going to be huge, most likely moving into the heat level 2 and 3 of MC. It's probably going to be the most important thing for yourselves. Honestly, I cannot understate enough how much you should be preparing fire resistance. This is the main thing you should focus on outside of getting your pre-bis right now. And on that note, that also means you should be ready or go into the raid. I would honestly always go into the raid on every character right now with a Librum of Fire Res on your helm and your leggings, because chances are you have not enchanted your helm or your legs unless you're a min-maxer or unless you're a feral druid who literally has a helm enchant for themselves. So this is an extra 40 fire res just for free, super easy, by getting a Librum of Resilience. And you can just buy these off the auction house. They're super cheap right now. Every one of your main characters should have 2 of these. You should absolutely have 2 of these and enchant for extra 40 fire resistance. Also prepare to get some greater fire protection potions, which is just kind of a standard thing to have to get. And on top of that, you also get extra fire resistance from factions if you are exalted with Argent Dawn. That's another 15 on your shoulders, 15 in exchange for 15 attack power, or whatever the enchant is for casters, is absolutely worth it. And that's not even the only one. If you go to Hydraxian Waterlords and you get exalted there, you're also going to get another 20 onto your cloak. And the reason I say all of this is important is because if you look at any of the new gear, if you look at what they added this phase, like those 2 exalted items that literally give you 20 and 20 fire res, or 20 and 15, if you look at that, it's obvious that Blizzard is planning for this raid to require fire resistance. There's gonna be a lot of fire damage. There's an aura that was data mined that literally takes you for fire damage at all times, every second. And if you don't have enough fire res to pretty much resist this almost consistently, it will legitimately be impossible to clear the raid on the harder difficulties. Now, you don't need to go in on the harder difficulties at all. Trust me, the raid should be really easy on the first difficulty, and that's what most people should clear it on. But if you want to push yourselves and if you want more loot, might as well go for it. At least try level 2, try level 3, especially when you first enter in. And the biggest thing you need to do right now to prepare yourselves is get your fire res. Anyways, guys, I will have a breakdown of how all the classes are performing, kind of like a tier list thing, I guess, for lack of a better way of saying it, coming very soon. Maybe tomorrow, maybe the next day.